Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Dream Room. If you are someone who loves decor, enjoys rearranging small spaces, finds joy in styling a cozy bedroom corner, refreshing a bathroom shelf, upgrading a home office view, or adding charm to a garden with natural, simple materials, then this video is truly for you. So many people want a home that feels warm, creative, and full of life, but they do not want to keep starting over every season, spending too much money, or choosing plants that only look good for a short time. That is exactly where the right perennials can change everything. They are not just flowers. They are long-term design pieces for your outdoor space. The kind of plants that return year after year, slowly making a garden feel fuller, softer, richer, and more intentional. Today, I want to show you 10 of the best perennials you only need to plant once for decades of endless garden color, and more importantly, how they can help you create a space that feels beautiful, welcoming, and easy to love. If you enjoy practical decorating ideas, natural beauty, and simple ways to make your home feel more special, make sure to subscribe to Dream Room and join me for the first plant on our list. 1. Hellebore, the quiet luxury plant for shade. Let's begin with a perennial that feels almost magical, especially for those of you who have a shaded corner that never seems to come alive the way you want it to. Hellebore is the kind of plant that quietly changes that story. While most of the garden is still waking up, this elegant beauty begins to bloom, bringing soft tones of cream, blush, dusty rose, plum, and deep burgundy into spaces that usually feel forgotten after winter. For viewers who love thoughtful decor, calming colors, and spaces that feel peaceful rather than flashy, hellebore has a kind of understated charm that is hard to beat. It looks beautiful along a walkway, beneath small trees, near a porch, or in that side yard where light is limited, but you still want the space to feel intentional. Even better, it asks for very little once established. It is one of those rare plants that gives your garden a refined, settled look without demanding constant attention. And that is what makes it so perfect for a dream room kind of home, where beauty is not about excess, but about choosing the right details that keep giving back year after year. 2. Heuchera, foliage color that works like decor. Now let's move to a perennial that proves a garden does not need to rely only on flowers to feel beautiful. Heuchera is grown for its foliage, and that is exactly what makes it so valuable for people who naturally notice color, texture, and layering in a space. If you are someone who enjoys matching tones, softening corners, and making even a small area feel styled and complete, this plant speaks your language. Its leaves can appear in shades of burgundy, caramel, lime, silver, plum, and deep green, which means it behaves almost like a living color palette in the garden. It works especially well in partial shade, along borders, near pathways, around pots, or in those in-between spaces where you want lasting interest without depending on a heavy bloom season. The small flowers are lovely, but the real beauty is the way the foliage carries the space through changing weather and different times of year. In many ways, Heuchera does outdoors what soft textiles, wood accents, and layered decor do indoors. It adds richness, depth, and a finished feeling, helping the garden look designed rather than accidental. 2. Heuchera, foliage color that works like decor. Now let's move to a perennial that proves a garden does not need to rely only on flowers to feel beautiful. Heuchera is grown for its foliage, and that is exactly what makes it so valuable for people who naturally notice color, texture, and layering in a space. If you're someone who enjoys matching tones, softening corners, and making even a small area feel styled and complete, this plant speaks your language. Its leaves can appear in shades of burgundy, caramel, lime, silver, plum, and deep green, which means it behaves almost like a living color palette in the garden. It works especially well in partial shade, along borders, near pathways, around pots, or in those in-between spaces where you want lasting interest without depending on a heavy bloom season. The small flowers are lovely, but the real beauty is the way the foliage carries the space through changing weather and different times of year. In many ways, Heuchera does outdoors what soft textiles, wood accents, and layered decor do indoors. It adds richness, depth, and a finished feeling, helping the garden look designed rather than accidental. 4. Yarrow, the effortless perennial for sunny, dry spaces. Now let's move into the kind of plant that makes life easier for anyone who wants a beautiful garden without turning it into a full-time job. Yarrow is one of the best choices for sunny, dry spaces because it keeps performing even when the soil is not perfect and the weather turns hot. For viewers who love a space that looks styled and intentional, but do not want to spend every week watering, feeding, and replacing plants, this perennial offers exactly that balance. Its flower heads rise in broad, flat clusters, which gives the garden a more designed look and creates a strong visual contrast against softer, rounder plants nearby. That shape is part of what makes yarrow so useful in a border. It helps break up the planting and add structure without feeling stiff. The foliage is also attractive, with a soft, feathery texture that keeps the plant interesting even when it is not the main thing in bloom. In many gardens, especially those with open sun, gravel paths, simple edging, or natural materials, yarrow brings the kind of easy beauty that feels professional but never overworked. It is a reminder that sometimes the smartest design choice is also the most practical one. 5. Bee balm, the bold summer color that brings the garden alive. Now we come to a perennial that brings a completely different kind of energy into the garden. Bee balm is bold, vivid, and full of movement, which makes it especially appealing for viewers who want their outdoor space to feel lively, colorful, and full of life during the heart of summer. Its flowers have a loose, shaggy shape that stands out immediately, and that slightly wild look is exactly what gives it so much personality in a border. For people who enjoy styling a space so it feels welcoming rather than stiff, bee balm offers that balance between beauty and natural charm. It also adds fragrance through its foliage, which gives the planting even more presence when brushed or handled nearby. One of the strongest reasons this plant works so well in a home garden is the way it attracts activity. Bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds are all drawn to it, so the space does not just look alive, it actually becomes alive. In a sunny border or a lightly shaded bed with enough moisture, bee balm helps create that midsummer moment when the garden feels active, abundant, and impossible to ignore. 6. Balloon flower, the charming detail people always notice. Now let's move to a perennial that brings a quieter kind of beauty, one built on charm, detail, and the kind of small surprise that makes people stop and look twice. Balloon flower is especially well suited to viewers who enjoy thoughtful spaces, who notice the little things, and who want their garden to feel inviting, creative, and gently distinctive rather than loud. Its name comes from the buds, which swell into round, balloon-like shapes before opening into star-shaped flowers. And that simple transformation is one of the reasons this plant feels so memorable. It is not just beautiful when fully open. It is interesting before the bloom even arrives. That makes it ideal for smaller gardens, pathway edges, front beds, or any area where the planting will be seen up close and appreciated in detail. It also fits naturally into spaces that are meant to feel personal and carefully arranged, because it adds character without overwhelming the border. In a garden designed for comfort, beauty, and quiet visual interest, balloon flower does exactly what it needs to do. It gives the eye something special to return to again and again. 7. Rudbeckia, the reliable burst of late summer cheer. Now we come to a perennial that answers one of the most common problems in any garden, especially for people who want their outdoor space to keep looking full, welcoming, and cheerful as the season moves on. By late summer, many earlier flowers begin to fade, and a border that once looked rich can suddenly feel tired or uneven. That is exactly where Rudbeckia becomes so valuable. Its strong yellow blooms bring brightness back into the garden at the moment it is most needed, helping the whole space feel fresh again, rather than finished too soon. For viewers who enjoy a home that feels warm and inviting, not only indoors but also just outside the door, this plant offers a very clear solution. It gives color, energy, and visual fullness without asking for complicated care. That makes it especially well suited to busy people who still want a garden that looks alive and put together. In a sunny border, mixed bed, or seasonal planting around a sitting area, Rudbeckia helps carry the design forward and keeps the garden looking happy when many other plants have already stepped back. 8. New England Aster, the autumn color that saves the garden. Now we come to the perennial that carries the garden into that later part of the year, when many spaces begin to lose their energy. New England aster is what helps close that late-season gap, bringing fresh color back into the border just when other summer bloomers are starting to fade. For viewers who love a home that feels warm, styled, and seasonal, this plant has a special kind of value because it keeps the outdoor space looking rich and alive well into early fall. Its masses of purple flowers create a soft cloud of color that can completely change the feeling of a bed, making it look full again rather than tired or unfinished. That is what makes it such a smart choice for anyone who enjoys decorating their home with the seasons and wants the garden outside to reflect that same sense of care. It also brings structure as it grows into a fuller clump over time, helping the border feel more complete year after year. When combined with other late-season plants, New England aster gives the garden that beautiful autumn presence that so many spaces are missing right when they need it most. 9. Agastache, the heat-loving vertical accent. Now let's move to a perennial that brings height, movement, and long-lasting color into the garden without making the space feel heavy. Agastache is especially useful for sunny areas that need something upright and lively, which makes it a strong choice for viewers who want their outdoor space to feel airy, colorful, and full of energy while still looking clean and well-arranged. Its flower spikes rise above the foliage and add a vertical accent that helps break up lower planting, giving the border more shape and a more balanced look overall. This is part of what makes it so valuable in patios, gravel gardens, hot borders, and open sunny beds, where many other plants may struggle or fade too quickly. Agastache also has one of the longest bloom periods among sun-loving perennials, which means it keeps the garden looking active for much longer through the season. For people who enjoy natural beauty but still want a space to feel intentional and visually light, it fits very naturally into the design. It brings color, structure, and motion all at once, while asking for very little beyond sun and good drainage. 10. Sedum Autumn Joy, the four-season anchor plant. And finally, we arrive at the perennial that brings everything together. Sedum Autumn Joy is the kind of plant that supports the garden across multiple seasons, which is exactly why it works so well as the final choice on this list. For viewers who love spaces that feel thoughtful, balanced, and easy to maintain, this plant offers something very rare. It stays visually useful for far longer than most flowers do. In spring, the fresh foliage already adds structure. In summer, the forming heads bring texture and presence. Then in autumn, the color deepens and becomes one of the most noticeable features in the border, helping the garden feel rich at the exact time many spaces begin to lose momentum. Even after the blooms have dried, the plant still contributes shape and interest, which means it continues to support the overall look instead of disappearing too soon. That makes it especially valuable for anyone who wants to plant once and enjoy lasting impact without constant replacement or complicated care. In a well-planned garden, Sedum Autumn Joy does more than add color. It acts like an anchor, helping the whole space feel complete, stable, and beautifully finished through changing seasons. Conclusion: lasting color, easy beauty, thoughtful living. And when you step back and look at all 10 of these perennials together, the real beauty of them is not only in the flowers themselves, but in what they make possible. They help create a garden that feels settled, welcoming, and full of character, without asking you to start over every spring. For those of you who love decor, who enjoy styling small spaces, arranging peaceful corners, refreshing a bedroom view, softening a home office backdrop, or bringing more life to a patio or garden path with natural, simple materials, this is what makes perennial planting so meaningful. It is not just gardening, it is long-term design. It is choosing beauty that returns, structure that grows stronger, and color that becomes part of the rhythm of home. A space like that does not happen by accident. It comes from thoughtful choices, and each of these plants is one of those choices. So now I would love to hear from you. Which of these perennials would you most love to plant in your own space first? Leave your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoy simple, beautiful ideas for decorating and improving your home and garden, make sure to subscribe to Dream Room and join me in the next video.